not going to listen. I don't have to. I have a right to speak truth. Boys are boys, girls are girls. Your son does not belong competing against those girls, period. What a coward of a woman you are allowing that. What a coward of a woman you are telling girls to go and compete against a boy? How embarrassing. You're a mother. You're a mother. Stand up like a mother. I am a mother. I'm protecting girls. You want a boy. How many people support the boy competing against the girls? Nobody. Don't tell me to shut up. I was respectful to you. Okay. And you're not going to
you're the, of course not.
Be a real mom. No, you're not. You're a coward. Your mental illness is on your son, you coward.
It is alive and well, the battle to protect our girls across this country, in spite of AG Pam Bondi issuing the declaration that you will be charged if you continue to put boys into the girls' spaces in girls' sports and locker rooms. Many states across this country are disregarding it, California being one of those. You were just hearing a very heated exchange between Sonia Shaw, the president of the Chino Valley School Board, and a mother that's been making national news who has Transhausen by proxy and is having her son front with woman face at all of these track meets, these events that are supposed to be for girls. And yet here we are. Sonia Shaw is joining us on America's Mom today. You know, this is pretty outrageous. This just happened. This is not from, 5 months ago before Trump got into office. This is happening right now in Chino Valley, in California, and nothing is happening to AB, who is the young man that is being propped up by this mother. I mean, it takes a mother, right, Sonia, to keep this thing going?
Absolutely, because if his mom stops, it stops. If his mom tells him the truth, this all goes away. I mean, the handful of boys throughout California, at least, if their moms and their dads stop it, it's done. There's no issue. We will not fight any longer. We're going to continue to do what we can to protect our girls. They have a right. And to allow this is just monstrous. I mean, we saw girls crying. We saw parents come up to us when, I was confronted twice during that. And let's be clear, I was confronted twice. I did respond because most people cowered away, or they say, you know what, let's just be quiet. Let's not ruffle any feathers. No, it's time to ruffle feathers. We saw girls get their own rights and their own chances at a spot in CIF ripped away. We had parents come up to us literally and say, wait a second, my daughter's competing against a boy? That's a boy? And we were like, yes. Your daughter is competing against a boy. A boy is taking away her rights, her opportunities, even in the locker rooms and the restrooms, her rights to privacy. This is happening. I can't tell you enough how uncomfortable it is when they come and they start putting a camera up in your face and they start yapping at you. But at the same token, I am so grateful that was done to me in order to get the rest of the people to realize what was actually going on. I will take all the slings and arrows if it means our girls will win this.
Okay, so let's give a little bit of backstory for people who are watching right now going, whoa, what was that? So this is at a track meet, and the mother's name, and I am so sorry, I could not find her name anywhere, even though I know she's made several videos. I've posted those videos, but I couldn't seem to find her name. Who is the mother and what is she all about? Because it seems like from her videos, she's chosen to be the token face for the Transhausen by proxy movement across the country. She's choosing this. She's made videos, guys. She's put them out there advocating for boys and girls sports. So we're not picking on her. She's made herself a public figure now. So who is this woman and what is the backstory behind that video?
Yeah, so there is actually a little bit of history and I'll try to make it quick. So Jessica Tapia and I had we collaborated on a post on Instagram. He has been taking, mind you, this is the same district. He's from the same district that Jessica was fired from. And Jessica is my dear friend, and she was fired for saying, no, I'm not going to let boys in the girls' locker rooms, and I'm not going to lie to the parents, right? This is the same district that's allowing this boy to do this to their own female athletes. Let's be clear. And then now it's spreading throughout California as he competes and he takes top spots from the girls, right? So this took place in Yorba Linda. This mother had sent Tapia and I a cease and desist for being public about this is wrong. Look at this boy went on record. He went on video. His mom, like you said, has been very vocal going on social media and supporting this. This is the same boy that Charlie Kirk and Newsom and the news has covered, but yet Tapia and I get a cease and desist and they try to shut us up from telling the truth. So with that said, we were at the track meet supporting the girls. We did a press conference earlier that day, and they came up to us. The mom came right up to shoulder to me, and she tried to tell me to shut up. And that's when I was like, no, I'm not going to shut up from telling the truth. These parents don't even know that. I had two parents tell me that their daughters kept telling them that, Mom, we're competing against a boy. The parents were like, no, you're not. That doesn't happen. No, you're not. And eventually they searched it up. They saw the video of me ripping the cease and desist, right? And they
Yes.
were like, oh my gosh, it is a boy, right? So at the same token, like, look, my heart hurts for this boy. I will be very clear of that. But the truth has been told to him by many, and he's choosing to hurt the girls. And adults are choosing to allow this hurt on both sides. And that's where we're like, stop it. Stop this insanity, right?
Yeah, and I think it's extremely important for the country to realize, unless if the states choose to come under the executive orders of President Trump, which he has issued an executive order saying enough of this, this is not to happen anymore. AG Pam Bondi has said we're pulling funding from all the states that continue to do this. I don't think they've pulled the funding yet from California. It needs to happen now. AB Hernandez is the boy's name, and I just want to be really clear about this too. He does not look like a girl. Okay, it's very
Yeah.
evidently a boy, which is also very upsetting and startling. It's not like you can say, "Oh, he's super feminine." I could almost understand. No, no, that's not even a thing. So it makes you wonder even more with this girl, Jessica, the mother, just or excuse me, that's not her name.
No,
What's her name?
it's Neredia, I think. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
something.
Hernandez. Yeah, AB Hernandez's mother, who you all just saw in the video there, you guys. She's choosing to use her son to be the proxy for transgenderism, for boys
Mhm.
having girl spaces and being in their sports. It is truly the most incredible thing. My understanding from he has set the triple jump record. I think he's in third place for the entire country right now in girls sports. So tell me, and those who are saying it doesn't matter, this isn't a big deal, why do you keep picking on these kids? Because they're literally, as you said, they're taking the places and opportunities of girls. And it's amazing to me because don't you think seeing some of these women that they're probably leftists already, and they were the ones who were the loudest about women's pay, equality in job opportunities, equality in education. Women are ruling in the colleges now. Those would have been the same women who would be saying all of that. They want equity for women, but now they're literally putting their own boys into girls' spaces to compete with girls. And I mean, your experience here, what are the parents that are watching this happen? What do they do, Sonia, when they finally recognize this is a boy who just beat out their girls and just stripped them of a finishing place at the end of whatever it is, the triple jump or the run, whatever it is they're doing? He took their place. How
Yeah.
do the parents respond to this?
There's a couple things that you can do right now. So first of all, our district did pass. I'm the sitting board president for the last 3 years or so, even more than that. We did pass a resolution, not just a resolution and a statement stating, hey guys, we protect Title IX. We want to do the right thing, but California law is prohibiting us. So that resolution, I'm encouraging every board to bring it forward, even if it fails, because what it's going to do is it's going to expose the ones that don't have the best interest for all the kids and that want to protect the girls and the boys from doing this, right? So that resolution, I have already challenged every California school board member to bring it forward. Now, also, our district passed a action item. We sent Trump a letter and we asked him to intervene. Pull the funding already. Too many girls are having their own opportunities being ripped away. I have sat countless hours at night, submitting my own complaints to the Office of Civil Rights on behalf of all these girls that I find out that are having their opportunities ripped away in each of their own sports. And we need to continue to do that. The parents need to do that. Look, California Family Council with Sophia Lori, she has a petition going out. Sign that. And then you have Advocates for Faith and Freedom. Find Jessica Tapia on social media. Sign up under there. They actually have a potential lawsuit that's going to go forward and hopefully stop this insanity. But we need people to be brave enough, these moms and dads of these girls, that their opportunities are being ripped. Like, look, we'll get in the face of all these bullies and we'll continue to fight the good fight on the ground, but we need people to stand up and actually fight back for their daughters. Like, allowing them to go through this once I don't see how you can do that. That's how I got into this fight how many years ago when I saw the kids being hurt, with the school closures and the masking. It wasn't just my child. It was all the kids. Like, at the end of the day, my child was safe. I pulled them out, put them in a charter, right? Like, I did what was best for them, but not everybody has those opportunities. So we need people to sign up for those lawsuits. You also have Julie Hamill, who's been doing an amazing job submitting complaints on behalf of these girls as well, helping them through the process. You have the tools, you have the resources. We just need people to stand up and say enough is enough. Like the conversations we had at that track meet brought me to tears. It hurt me. It tore me inside hearing these parents and these girls find out the truth. But at the same token, it also brought hope because so many people were like, "What can I do next?" Well, we're giving you the tools to what to do next, right? And then vote in the right people this next election cycle. Look, California has everyone's like, "Oh, California's a lost cause." No, guess what? That those boys in California are going to go national, right? They're not going to stop. And Newsom and Bonta, our attorney general, our governor, they will fight and spend taxpayer dollars to allow them to do that. So I say, make
That's
sure
right.
the people this next election cycle get in the right positions. Like I'm running for state superintendent, right? I don't I've never dreamed of doing this. But we need fighters up there to get into their face and say, no, our kids deserve a chance. They deserve fairness in their sports. They deserve a chance for a best education. That's what we need to do in the bigger picture, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but there is short stops you can take to end this madness with us.
It's really just shocking. And I want to remind everybody too. Yeah, Sonia Shaw, do you have a political science degree?
No, I have a
No.
heart and I have, the ability and the grit to get involved, learn how the process works, and get in there and start changing it. No,
The,
no
the,
political science degree at all.
but a whole heck of a lot of common sense. This is a very critical and important issue. Our kids have been, you know, so in such a deficit, I would say, since 2020 hit.
Yep.
And the last 4.5 years of watching this transgenderism thing start taking out our girls systematically, only to have such it's just blatant, it's just in your face with this particular mother, this particular situation, and the many that are happening actually across the country still, that if we don't stand up, if we don't do something about it, if we don't say something about it, President Trump has already done everything he can. And I want to point out, again, if you guys are not following Sonia Shaw on Instagram and on X, you need to be doing it. You have already filed complaints, just to be clear, with Jurupa Valley Unified, President Trump, the Office of Civil Rights, the Department of Justice. You've copied Newsom, Bonta, and Thurmond on all of those emails and communications.
NCIF. Don't let them
NCIF,
off.
awesome. It's time. Attorney General Bondi, pull the funding for California. Nobody's going to do anything to support President Trump's executive order, and they're certainly not going to do anything to protect girls in the state of California. If it wasn't for moms like you, Sonia Shaw, there would be no hope. Thank you for being with us today.
No, and thank you. Thank you for getting this out there. We appreciate it. We have to fight the good fight to protect kids, and we have to make common sense common again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And she is running for the state school board. You're going to be in charge. You're going to be in charge of California School District. I know it, and I can't wait to see it because we need to see a massive return of common sense. What you've done in Chino Valley under your leadership, what has happened there is absolutely incredible. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sheesh. Can you believe that? Can you believe we're still going through this? Can you believe we still have obvious boys running in girls' sports, taking their spots, taking their positions? I just it's so comedic, except that these little girls are hurt by it. They lose their opportunities. They lose the trajectory for their own futures that they have been working so hard on, both physically, academically, spiritually, mentally. And to have a boy swarm in and say, I can be a better girl than you, just watch me take your spot, is unbelievable. It's unthinkable, especially in such a leftist state like California. This is just beyond. It's such a cult. If you weren't sure about that, watch the left go from it's all about women, women's rights, protect equity, all of that, to all of a sudden protecting boys pretending to be women. Never thought I'd see this day. I never thought I would see this day. All right, well, let's move right along. I want to just take a minute and just and acknowledge our great sponsor today before I forget, because the rest of the show is it's going to keep you on your toes today. There's a lot happening in the world right now, and so I want to take a moment to recognize our sponsor for America's Mom Today. First of all, I want to thank you guys all for being here with us on X America News. If you're watching right now, share this over to your own platforms, guys, whether you're on Rumble, Facebook, on X, wherever you're watching from. YouTube, share this everywhere. We only expand as you guys share our programming with your friends and family. So please do that right now. Secondly, leave a comment below and let us know where you are watching from and how long you've been watching X America News. This is still a very relatively new platform, and yet it's doing phenomenal things, and we're breaking barriers already. So please let us know where you're watching from. Our great sponsor today for America's Mom is shopwithpatriots.com. I've been talking about this American manufacturer for a little over a year now because they are so exceptional. The products have changed my life, literally changed my health. Actually, about a year and a half now, changed my health completely. And I've been able to bring non toxic products into my home that are clean, made in America, and support American workers with over 400 of your everyday use items. You know, we choose every single day what we're bringing into our homes, what we're using around our families. You can feel good about this decision, knowing that there's no chemicals, it's toxin free, and it's safe for everyone in your family, including your babies and your pets. So go check out shopwithpatriots.com today and everything they have to offer to you. They are putting America first and putting American workers back to work. Go check them out today. Shopwithpatriots.com. All right, well, let's get into the news, guys, because that's really, it's so wild. It's so wild what is happening here in America. President Trump is just tearing it up. Hang on just a second. I just want to make sure that I hit all of these points because it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy today. If you had an opportunity to see what President Trump is doing, we're going to get into that today. We are going to get into the Diddy trial today. I think it's extremely important. I think it is culturally historical. It is a huge eye-opening moment to figure out what's been happening in culture, why it's been pushed into a certain direction that we've had such a difficult time coming back from. Things that seem very unorganic, they're not natural, it's not normal, and yet it has captivated every industry of entertainment. And now we're getting to see why. We're getting to finally understand how did that happen. So I want to start with the second day of Diddy trial. It's actually started on Monday. And it was pretty alarming, pretty shocking. We'll just kick off right away with our video, and then I'm going to get into the actual events that have already transpired in the first 2 days of the trial. And we're going to continue to update everybody on what's happening in that trial because, again, I don't think that this is just about Sean Combs. This is about Sean Combs being used by agencies in America to perpetuate a certain narrative to destroy this country. Take a listen.
Ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura gave graphic testimony today at the trial of Sean P. Diddy Combs. The 38-year-old singer says Diddy was frequently violent. Make the wrong face, and the next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. She was asked about this now notorious hotel surveillance video that shows Diddy beating and kicking her when she tried to run away. She says she suffered busted lips and bruises all over my body.
A lot of the people inside had to put their head down because they were having a hard time watching that video.
She arrived at Manhattan Federal Court wearing dark glasses, a brown coat, and turtleneck dress. It was the first time they'd been in the same room together in 6 years.
What was Diddy's reaction when Cassie walked into that courtroom?
What we've seen so far with her being on the stand is he's being interactive with his defense counsel, and he has been taking notes, passing those notes to his defense counsel because this cross-examination of Cassie is going to be very intense.
Cassie Ventura is in the 9th month of her pregnancy and could give birth at any time. On the witness stand, she often rested her hands on her baby bump and shifted in her chair. She also spoke in a very low voice and frequently dabbed her eyes with tissues. In view of her advanced pregnancy, the judge has agreed to grant breaks about every 90 minutes. She described sex orgies in which Diddy would watch me with another person and actually direct us on what we were doing. I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much, she told the jurors.
How is Cassie feeling today?
Cassie Ventura's husband, TV actor Alex Fine, came to court to support her.
Ms. Combs, what is this like for you? What is this like for his family?
Diddy's daughters also returned to court today, despite walking out during disturbing testimony yesterday by a male escort who testified he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura while Diddy watched.
What's crazy about that whole reporting right there is that that was mainstream media. That was Inside Edition getting into the details. Now, CNN is actually reporting human trafficking. Unfortunately, Combs is only looking at 5 counts, including one of racketeering and conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. which is baffling to me because the level of the testimonies that we're going to hear over and over and over, person after person after person, is that can be documented, is accounted for. They're bringing the receipts. Initially, when this whole petition was filed, the original petitioner, actually included all of the receipts. They were all there. The pictures were there. The videos were inserted. I mean, everything was there. This isn't just hearsay or just making accusations, maybe a little bit like we're finding out with the Weinstein trial and drama there. This was real receipts being brought forward regarding Combs and what he had done. Not to mention, we're watching, the speculation around Justin Bieber. And actually, I've had private conversations with people who are in talking with him and have been talking with him throughout the entire ordeal for years. And they're saying it's true. It's all true. What Combs did, what we all understand Combs did with Bieber allegedly. So here's what we know from opening statements in the last 2 days in the witnesses' testimony. I want to kind of walk through this. And again, the purpose for this is not just to be hyperbolic about and be clickbait for Sean Combs. I believe fervently this has literally been an operation to shift the hearts and minds of this country to something that's derogatory, that literally ruins the brains of our kids and exposes them to information, to content that literally ruins their brains and prevents them from being what they were supposed to be. I think this has been a very spiritual thing. I think that the globalists have used this in order to destroy the culture of our children so that they wouldn't want to. They're not worried about this country. They're not worried about anything. If all you're doing is drugs and, pimping out girls. And I mean, the narrative in the music is not great. Even Beyonce, I forced myself to listen to her last album just because I was like, you should probably listen before you make a judgment. It was horrendous. It was disgusting. It was filthy. It was vulgar. It was, I mean, no creativity around these lyrics. It's just dropping F bombs left and right. It's just disgusting. And it speaks of a relationship and constant relationships in this music that are not healthy. They're not normal. They're not natural. So let's just get into it because, again, this is what your kids have been listening to. This is what people have been listening to for the last 25 years. If you want to know what's wrong with our country, the impact of music and entertainment on the psyche and the soul is massive. We used to have rules actually in corrections facilities, especially for youth corrections, that you couldn't watch anything under PG-13. That has changed, by the way. That changed under Obama, by the way. And they started allowing children to watch R-rated movies who were already in juvenile detention for violence. It was crazy. But they were used to be very sensitive to that before we left. When we saw the rules changing and we saw all of this entertainment being brought in that literally provokes these inhumane acts in children and adults as viable entertainment for kids, we were like, this is not gonna be good. We've watched people do it. How many times we would see kids playing the carjacking game and then end up going in carjacking? It's just unbelievable. Art emulates life, right? And that's what was happening. Their life was emulating what they were watching, and nobody's surprised by that. There's a lot of scripture about that. Who you hang out with is who you're going to become. The things that you set your mind on is what you think about is what you're going to become. So let's just get into this. Opening statements. First of all, we have the representative, the U.S. attorney that's representing is Emily Johnson. She says that there is another side to Combs, not just this, pop artist who was super popular and funny and famous and all of that, who Ellen DeGeneres loved having on her show, by the way, and the Kardashians used to party with all the time, by the way. This cultural icon who ran a criminal enterprise. So she starts getting into all of the things that he's been doing, all the nefarious activities. The story of Cassie Ventura, especially, is very, very upsetting. She was only 19 years old, guys, when she first got with Sean Combs. She had zero experience sexually, had never been involved with anybody. And this was literally the things that he was walking her through and having her do was her first introduction to all of this. She was required, as they said in the video, to be intimate with male escorts. He would film it and then he would keep the recordings as blackmail. Resources from Combs' businesses were used to sexually exploit multiple women. The freak offs, of course, here's the thing too about these freak offs were not just one night. So I think we started to understand these things were going on for days. They were going on every single week. These girls, these escorts, Cassie Ventura, they were being forced to do this stuff for days on end. In fact, the video that you saw earlier of him beating her, one of the reasons that she was given a brutal beating just like that was because she was on her computer instead of actually engaging in a 3-day tryst with a male escort. So he got mad that she wasn't in there performing after already performing for 3 days, apparently. and just absolutely beat the crud out of her. Much of the prosecution's case is, of course, focusing on Ventura and the abuse there, and another victim who will be identified by the pseudonym Jane. So we may or may not ever know who this person is during the trial. It might be because she's underage. It might be because she is just trying to maintain some kind of on anonymity. I don't know. We don't know yet what that's about. The defense attorney, this is very interesting. When he stood up to tell the jury, things I want you to keep in mind as you're listening to this. But he's calling the behavior domestic violence. And he's saying domestic violence is not sex trafficking. Okay. He's saying they were in a relationship and she was just doing what people do in a relationship. I've never done those things in a relationship, but okay. She would get the crap beat out of her by her own testimony, allegedly, if she did not do those things, but okay. Geragos, the defense attorney, is telling the jury that they are going to hear evidence of Combs' sexual preferences, and it may make them uncomfortable. But the panel is not here to judge him for those preferences. The defense is also the defense attorney called for the 2016 video, saying it was indefensible, but insisted that it's an episode of domestic violence, not sex trafficking. She's not getting beat for not performing, guys. She's getting beat because she was his girlfriend. Okay. Learn the difference. This is going to be a crazy trial. He also says that Ventura made a choice of staying with Combs for 11 years and then made the choice to break up with him on her own terms. I think there came a point when she realized her life is over if she does not make a decision here. We're going to hear more from her. She was cross-examined, I think, in part yesterday. We'll get into that in just a minute. There is obviously a ton that was spoken on about that 2016 video that was very, very significant. But the second witness testimony is Daniel Phillip, and he's really the one that they focus on. He was the male escort that was brought in many, many, many times to perform, and that's what they're calling it. They're calling it a performance with Cassie in front of Combs, and that's where you're hearing that he would direct them, tell them what to do, even asking for this Daniel Phillip to urinate on Cassie. I mean, this stuff is disgusting. It gets really, really disgusting and abhorrent, and you can't even understand it or understand how that would be. How that could even happen. How could you even find yourself in that situation? But this is what happens when you have nothing to do, tons of money, and you've been told to get as much blackmail information on people as you possibly can, which is what I think was going on with Sean Combs. I absolutely think he was an Epstein, and he was keeping the entire entertainment industry in check. Throughout this 2-month trial, the jurors are expected to hear testimony from 3 and possibly 4 of Combs's female accusers, as well as ex-employees who worked for him who are coming out, saying that they helped to cover up his actions, everything from drugs and rape to murder. To murder. This case is going to run for at least 2 months, they believe. The prosecutors are claiming that Combs would lure women in romantic relationships, the lover boy trap, and then force them to take part in days of drug fueled orgies and parties, and then blackmail them with the videos he recorded of their encounters. And you have to understand, I can't imagine the power dynamic there between just someone like Cassie and the many, many other women that I've heard about already who were caught up in this snare with Combs. They've been told that he's going to help them advance their career. They say, okay, and they like him. I guess maybe he was, attractive. I don't know. And they find themselves really admiring him, wanting to be a part of his power play, wanting to be a part of his inner circle because he makes things go, he makes things happen, he makes people famous. He's the one who's been saying who gets to be on the stage, who gets to have that record deal. Sean Combs was in charge, and everybody knew it. And so they're trying to get their day. They're trying to have their moment. And so you can imagine what that's like. And you keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Even at this point, Cassie is only 38 years old and obviously still has a lot of life left ahead of her. But when you're super young like that and someone's promising you the moon, and then they make videos like this and say, I will release it if you don't do what I told you, and it will destroy your potential for any career ever in your life, and your family will see it, everybody will see what you're doing. You guys, I cannot imagine the fear that would be attached to that, especially if it's not in your character, it's not who you are, it's not something you would have ever seen yourself doing, and yet there they were. So it's really pretty upsetting and pretty devastating already. Just this second day, today is the third day of the trial. I'll be keeping track of this. I'm going to be sharing a little bit every time we are on the show because again, I think it's extremely important. I want to know why. Why was he recording everybody? Why was he doing this? Who was funding him? Who was funding his efforts? Because we've heard a lot about that as well, that there was unbelievable amounts of money pouring in to Sean Combs that did not originate from him. So it's going to be very fascinating to hear more about this. Well, okay, let's move along for now. Trump is making deals everywhere, and the left just cannot stop crying. You guys, he has negotiated peace between India and Pakistan, between the Congo and Rwanda. He's negotiated a trade deal with China. Nothing will ever be good enough, just so you know. Freed the last hostage from Hamas. He's found missing children who were trafficked under Joe Biden's regime. And he now has the video of a deal with Saudi Arabia. He is ready to make peace over there and see them be great again. Take a listen to his speech just yesterday.
I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.
You know, this is what you do, right? The art of the deal that Donald Trump is displaying right now is ticking off liberals so bad because here it is again, we have this weird flip-flop. Liberals used to be against war, but now they want to have a fight with everybody. Imagine hating your president so bad that you would rather go to war with everybody in the world and see millions die just because you hate him, just because you don't like him. You can't separate out the policies, you can't separate out the good things that might be happening. You can only focus on your TDS. It's that bad. Well, the liberals just keep crying. However, in the midst of all of this, of Trump making peace with everybody, telling Netanyahu, no, we are not going to go blow the hell out of Iran. We're not doing that. And we're not going to go blow the hell out of Gaza. We're not doing that either. No, we're not going to do that. Not going to do that. And Netanyahu having to submit to President Trump, which I think, again, there's so much conflict regarding Israel right now, too, the government of Israel right now, and what has gone on over there with the incredible destruction. It's very difficult. I think we, in an age where we get to see all the videos, we get to see all the deaths of children, we get to hear so many things we never heard before about the tactics that Israel uses, that the IDF uses, and as well as the tactics that Hamas uses and that were employed by the Palestinians. We hear about the schools that were set up in Palestine to teach children to hate America and to kill Jews. I mean, there are many truths running parallel here. And instead of having to choose a side, President Trump is saying, why don't we just make things great for everybody? Why don't we just build up the economy for everybody so that they will love peace more than war? Why don't we do that? Let's give that a shot. President Trump was emphatic that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, ever. And he's not messing around with that. And you know that he's not. And he's saying, we're going to build you guys up. We're going to give you a great economy. Everybody's going to love life. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have great trade deals. It's going to be awesome. And you're never going to have a nuclear weapon ever, ever. We're going to have peace in the region finally. And I think it's very, very exciting. And I think even secretly, the Democrats know that even they can take a little nap, like they did yesterday. Don't tell me they're worried. Some idiot, though, today did have the audacity to say he was drawing up articles of impeachment. Some Congress member that we're not even going to name his name because it's not even worth talking about him. He's an idiot. Everybody is more relaxed. Everybody is enjoying what President Trump is doing, no matter how loudly they scream from time to time. The videos don't lie, right? The videos don't lie. All right. One of my favorite topics, of course, has been RFK, what Bobby Kennedy has been doing for the country at large. Before I get into what they're doing, I want to remind everybody that there's sites called whitehouse.gov, right, where you can go and you can read exactly what President Trump is doing. In fact, all of the information about the Qatar deal is all right there for you to read. All the details, all the numbers, exactly what they're doing. President Trump is making everything transparent. It's all right there, whitehouse.gov. Go check it out. Same with Bobby Kennedy and what he is doing with HHS and the FDA. It's all right there for us to see. So I want to just encourage you guys not to be so quick to go on these clickbait. I know I keep saying it, but I know that people have access that they don't use, and instead they get on social media and start doing clickbait stuff to cause dissension and trouble. I know for a fact. Okay. So when I see that happening, I've started unfollowing. I call them first and say, what are you doing? Why have you spoken to this person? If they say no, well, why don't you? And if they say no, then I unfollow. And that's fake news. And they're fake news and they are part of the outrage circus. I've seen it happening over and over and over the past month, six weeks or so, 8 weeks or so. And I'm not going to call those people out. I don't care. I call them directly. And if they want to continue doing that stuff, I just don't follow them. So if you guys are wondering sometimes why I don't follow whatever, because they're not being ethical. Okay. They're part of the outrage circus clickbait that is pushing a false narrative and they will not talk to people. If anything we're learning with President Trump is there has to be communication. You have to be able to talk to people that you don't agree with to come up with a solution. A lot of this has been, I think I'm starting to understand a little bit better what they mean about the tribal warfare that's been going on between the left and the right. And a lot of this, I'm not going to be friends with baby killers. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to be friends with people who promote the weaponization of government against regular everyday Americans because they were talking about elections. That's never going to happen. But at some point, you do have to discuss things. At some point, you've got to find some sort of a pathway forward in this country. President Trump is demonstrating how you do that. And he's not forsaking his values. He's not forsaking the principles that he ran on, the policies that he ran on. In fact, he is keeping everything he said. He's keeping every word he said. Everything he said he would do, he is doing it. And a really great example of that right now of what's happening over in Romania and Poland and Hungary is this incredible unification over principles that develop great policies that will ensure your country will grow and be successful. And that's how you do it. And they're just doing a phenomenal job. There's a massive amount of communication going on over there. People are working together for those foundational principles that will drive excellence in your country and make your country great again. That's what President Trump is doing. I trust a businessman far more over a politician every single day of the week. And when it comes to Bobby Kennedy, the proof is really in the pudding of what he's doing. This is a man who I think when he very first was in, there was some real concern that something was happening and maybe a blackmail operation was at foot. When he endorsed the MMR shot, we all kind of went, what are you talking about? Like, what? Those of us who's done the research on that with William Thompson, the creator of the MMR, and we knew firsthand that he always knew it was a eugenics medication, it was a eugenics shot, and it was definitely going to destroy men, boys. That was shocking. Okay. So there was this big push by certain social media influencers as well as the people to say, hey, we don't care what they have on you. Do what you said you were going to do, because we know that he's passionate. I mean, he's written the Fauci book. He has been at the helm of the Children's Defense Fund. He's worked with Del Bigtree to push information out there that on the left, they were freaking out about. He has not had friends on the right or the left because he has been so committed to seeing children be healthy again. Right? Not just supporting pharmaceutical companies. So he gets on, it's just unbelievable what he just did. He gets on and does a press conference, I think yesterday or the day before, and he calls out over 100 congressional members who are in bed with the pharmaceutical industry. Take a listen to this.
Today, over 100 members of Congress support a bill to fund Ozempic with Medicare at $1,500 a month. Most of these members have taken money from the manufacturer of that product, a European company called Novo Nordisk. As everyone knows, once a drug is approved for Medicare, it goes to Medicaid. And there is a push to recommend Ozempic for Americans as young as 6 over a condition, obesity, that is completely preventable and barely even existed 100 years ago. Since 74% of Americans are obese, the cost of all of them, if they take their Ozempic prescriptions, will be $3 trillion a year. This is a drug that has made Novo Nordisk the biggest company in Europe. It's a Danish company, but the Danish government does not recommend it. It recommends a change in diet to treat obesity and exercise. Virtually Novo Nordisk's entire value is based upon its projections of what Ozempic is going to sell to Americans. For half the price of Ozempic, we could purchase regeneratively raised organic agriculture, organic food for every American, 3 meals a day, and gym membership. for every obese American. Why are members of Congress doing the bidding of this Danish company instead of standing up for American farmers and children? Because Novo Nordisk is one of the largest funders of medical research, the media and politicians and the medical schools all go along with them.
It's really upsetting, okay? So just think about this for a moment. How does this end up happening that our politicians are indebted to these kind of companies? They lobby them, they find ways to give donations and contributions to their campaigns, and then when the time comes to make that vote that will support that company, I don't think it's that they're trying to be evil. I do want to be clear about this. I remember in one campaign, a developer who was a mining developer had been basically kind of romancing and trying to get into the campaign and was saying, listen, we really need this. We really need this. We'll bring a lot more jobs. But the reality was the people in the community didn't want it. They didn't want it. They wanted to be what they are and they didn't want it. And at the time, I really didn't understand because I'm like, we really need that money. He was willing to make a personal contribution to the campaign. It was going to be so great. We really needed that money. And the lesson that I learned then was yes. And then what happens when you take it? Now you have to support his cause. And there's so many things we could talk about just within that when it comes to caps on fundraising for congressional and US Senate races. The fact that the one who raises the most money typically wins should be a clue right there. So people know they have to raise, like, let's say you're going to run for Congress. A typical congressional race, let's just say in Colorado rural district, normally would have been, I don't know, $150,000 maybe 10 years ago. Now it's a multi-million dollar district. You have to raise multi-millions of dollars to win in that district now. Didn't used to be that way. Wasn't that way actually even in 2020, but now it is. How are you going to raise multi-millions of dollars if you are not starting to work with corporations and big money? Somebody's got to see your potential and pay into it, but they're only going to pay into it if they believe they can get something out of it. And so there is a bigger discussion that has to be had regarding how much money is brought to the table for these races and even how the PACs are working. So those are things for another day, but they play right into what Bobby Kennedy is talking about. At least 100 congressional members had received money from Nova, and they are pushing Ozempic, and they are wanting the government to pay for it. What's fascinating about this is I've always said too, if you're ever going to have a government project, you need to put it as a vote to the people, a petition vote. So if you're going to be asking them to pay for something, some new program, a new idea, then it needs to be put to a vote. And that's not happening, you guys. That's not happening. Your representatives have said, well, I'm their representative. I'll make a decision about that. I'll push that forward, even though it's going to cost our state however much money in order to implement it. And then how do they get paid? Well, there's a lot of different ways. How many houses does the governor have? That's the joke, right? He doesn't know either. There's a lot of ways that these people are receiving kickbacks for supporting and promoting organizations like that, businesses like that. And that's what needs to be avoided on all sides. If you have a great product, great, then sell your product. But it's not right to be using your influence with government officials, elected government officials, and then asking them to fund it with taxpayer dollars. I don't think it's right. Those public, quote, public-private partnerships really need to be scrutinized, and they need to have, if you want to have a lot of regulation, there needs to be regulation around those. So let's just, moving on just a little bit. RFK also, Bobby Kennedy a couple of weeks ago talked about not only the departure from America, that product Ozempic isn't even selling in the country in which it was created. They've said, no, we're not going to do it. People could just need to like diet and walk. Okay. They save that stuff for us here in America. And one of the biggest travesties is one of the efforts that Kennedy is taking on right now, which is linked to so many nervous system disorders in children: ADD, ADHD, hyperactivity disorder. It is wild. Memory, cognition, all of those things. And that is the food dyes that have been used in our products. And I want you to listen to this. This was literally taken. Like I said, you can find all of this on the FDA website. I know a lot of people aren't going to go there and look, so I'm just going to share this with you. The goal of the FDA right now and the actions that they're taking to immediately immediately revoke authorization for the use of 2 of the major food colorings. That is citrus red number 2, and orange B, because it is so toxic. It is wildly toxic. So those M&Ms you've been eating, guys, toss them out. And just a little side point, Europe has colored M&Ms too. They just don't use petroleum-based food coloring. They use natural ingredients that already occur in nature. Coloring that already occurs in nature. We'll talk about in a sec. By 2027, you're going to see that red number 40, yellow number 5, yellow number 6, blue number 1, blue number 2, and green number 3 will be removed from the food supply. And actually, they're saying by next year, by the end of 26. Authorization for 4 new natural food color additives is coming right now. It's happening literally as we're speaking right now. They are expediting approval so that it doesn't mess up what other corporations are doing, because, of course, President Trump is pro business, right? But we need to make sure we're not purposely poisoning Americans, allowing things here in our country that we know are poison on our people, on our children. And yet over in Europe and in every other country actually in the world, they would never use any of these ingredients because they know they're poison. So they ban them. But here in America, we can use it. Here in America, we can poison kids. That's the whole point. They're also going to be partnering with the National Institute of Health to conduct comprehensive research on how these food additives are actually impacting children's health and development. And I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but there was a new release about McDonald's. I think I vomited in my mouth and was so grateful. I have not had McDonald's in years and years. I'm not trying to put the company out of business, but they found strange things in the pink sludge hamburger. And there are things, we'll save it because you're going to want to see the receipts on this. It's not good. It's really not good. And what the heck is natural flavorings? What is natural flavorings on the description on your food? What is it? There is a lot of speculation about what natural flavorings are, and it ain't good. So right now they are doing a comprehensive research on food additives and how they are impacting children's health and development, and exactly what they are, by the way, too. Food companies will need to be removing all the FD&C red number 3 sooner than 2027 and 28. That has to happen right away. And actually, Bobby Kennedy said it needs to happen within the next 2 months. So we're going to see some massive shift happening with that. In addition to that, the FDA is fast-tracking the review of other ingredients that are way better for us and way better for children. That's happening very quickly. The FDA is asking food companies to substitute petrochemical dyes with natural ingredients for American children, as they already do in Europe and Canada. So it's not going to be a big stretch. M&Ms in Europe does not put chemicals and poison in their M&Ms. They only do that to Americans. Okay, that's the whole point. They're not doing it anywhere else. We have an epidemic of childhood diabetes, obesity, depression, and ADHD. Given the growing concerns from doctors and parents about the potential role of food, the petroleum-based food dyes, we should not be taking risks, and we need to do everything we can to safeguard the health of our children. Another explosive study that Kennedy is involved in right now that I want you to know about is the vaccine safety studies. They've never been done before. They've never been done. Not one vaccine has ever had an actual safety study because it would require a placebo. And what the manufacturers of vaccines said was it was unethical to withhold a vaccine that they believed would provide life-saving treatment. And so they've never done it. That is a fact, but it's happening right now. It's happening right now. And in my mind, I'm like, that's unethical to have somebody have to take the shot. Any shots, any of that chemical crap, any of that aluminum-based product, any of it. But I'm not in charge. So it's going to be very interesting. Kennedy just said that that study is going to be released in August. So that's only a couple months away. And the reality is, as I posted and will continue to keep sharing, doctors already knew this. They know when they give a baby a shot and that mother is calling and complaining and that doctor is trying to say, nope, 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 it's not the shot. They know it was. When a parent loses their child to sudden infant death syndrome, you all realize that's not normal, right? That's not normal. That's not internal. That's environmental. Something was done that caused that. It didn't just happen. Babies don't just die. That's not true. It's not true. I've had 4 children. I've never had one of them almost stop breathing, and none of them, not one of them, were ever jabbed one time in their life. They're all beautiful, strong, no nervous system disorders, no learning disorders, nothing. They're healthy, healthy, healthy kids. And it's going to be shocking for a lot of people. that they've been listening to, quote, the experts all this time, only to find that every shot that those experts gave, they were paid on. Same thing as we're dealing with our Congress and why they promote certain plans and programs, because there is a payout attached to that. It's extremely important for Americans to wake up and understand, yes, I'm not saying everybody's evil, but I am saying that they bought into a philosophy about a product that ended up and has killed many, many children in this country, impaired them, immobilized them, created more autistic children than ever because it's damaging their brains. And they bought into that. And they never stopped to analyze what they were doing. And the doctors like Dr. Thorpe, who have stopped and analyzed, Dr. Barkey, have stopped to analyze what was happening to their patients. They stopped because they were seeing a pattern. Wow. Dr. Cardenas of California, who had her medical license stripped from her because she refused to administer the COVID shot and any other vaccine. Yeah, they stop doing that when they realize that it's hurting kids. So it's going to be so, so great to have someone in there who does not give two cares about what the government is doing, who is not indebted to anybody, who is not worried about appeasing some kind of financial master that has put them where they are at. Bobby Kennedy is not going to back down, and we're watching it happen right now. One other issue that he is addressing that I think is extremely important is the fluoride situation. The research is in, and it's demonstrating that the children who have had more fluoride, the more fluoride you have, he literally said, his words, not mine, the dumber you are. And he said, we need smart children in America. So we are revisiting the fluoride program and what is going on in our water systems across the country, as well as recommendation to dentists and orthodontics. So I am extremely excited to hear that as well, that there's going to be a change with fluoride even in our products and services, in our water treatments. And I mean, that was his words. The more fluoride you have, the dumber you are. I've heard a lot about calcification of the pineal gland through too much, obviously. And for me, I mean, there is different levels of fluoride, obviously, but what they're hoping it would do to remineralize your teeth is not what it's doing in our water system. It is hardening, it's calcifying the pineal gland, which provides so much support and basically is called like that communication system with God. Your pineal gland provides that kind of communication segue with God. And they're saying that it's calcifying due to high fluoride in the body. And so these are things to be considering. The great things that are happening in this country, the great things that are taking the whole country, the whole world by storm right now. And I do want to remind everybody to keep their eyes on Romania as we wrap up our show today. Romania is not a country I really even knew much about. We got involved simply because they came out here in to one of the CPACs in 2 years ago, December, I think of 23, I guess it was. And George Simeon walked in and I said, you know, what can I do for you? He said, I'm looking for Mr. Mike Lindell, and introduced him to Mike Lindell, and the rest is history. From then on, this man, George Simeon, who has been fighting for the freedom of Romania, just demonstrated that he had the grit, he had the will to see his country be free, to get out from under the globalists, to get out from under France and their constant interference in Romania, and to once again return power to Romanians. It has been a really, really fascinating journey, and it's been incredible to watch him rise to the top now. And what evil was meant, God has turned it into good, no doubt about it. The first round of elections happened last week. George Simeon came out on top, and projections right now are showing he will win the May 18th election. So be watching that, because again, there's this huge uprising in Europe to make their countries great again. The European Union has not done what it promised it would do. It has acted as a big bully, as a king, governing these countries and restricting them, forcing them to take massive amounts of immigrants or else pay a fine. It's not just the Green New Deal, wokeism, LGBTQIA, trans. They're invoking all of that in Europe right now through the European Union. And if you don't play, you will pay. That's how it's been going. Not to mention all of the force surrounding the Ukrainian war. Be a part, be involved, pay up, or else. And they're tired of it. They're tired of it. So this massive movement to make Europe great again, and consequently to make each of their own nations great again, is alive and well. And we're very, very, very excited to be seeing Poland Hungary and Romania get the representation that they deserve. These elections that are happening right now are so critical to the health and vitality of Europe, and therefore the relationships that we're having here in America with them, right? All ships rise when America is doing well. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So we are thinking and praying for George Simeon. He had a very trending moment all over Twitter right now when he sat down with the mainstream media of Romania and called every single one of them out, declaring that they believe that we are um, basically lesser beings. And he's had enough of that. You got to go check it out. I posted it on Twitter. Watch the whole video there because everyone's had enough. We're tired of being told you have to have special letters behind your name in order to come to the table, in order to have an opinion that has value and that can actually change the trajectory back to good things for your country, good things for your community, good things for your children. We're tired of it. We're tired of being told that we are not good enough to be a part of this conversation. In America, you're watching it play out right in front of you. A man who was never a politician, just a businessman, is changing the entire world. Well, you guys, that is all we have today here on America's Mom. Thank you so much for joining us. I do want to remind you, go follow Sonia Shaw. If you need a dose of courage, a big shot of courage today, go follow her because that mom, what she is doing in California, how she is igniting the mothers and the fathers, defending women and children, making sure that the leftists are put on notice, she has no fear. She has no fear. You know why? Because she's not indebted to anybody. She doesn't owe anybody anything. She's simply standing up for her children and doing the right thing. We need a whole lot more of that. Now she's running for superintendent for the state of California. I want to encourage everybody to drop a buck or two. Maybe forego your Starbucks today, guys, and drop some money into Sonia Shaw's actual fund for this campaign because she's going to need it. It's definitely going to be a tight and tough race because, as we know, education is how they're getting to our children. That is how they're making the greatest impact on our culture and changing the hearts and minds of our children. We can't have it go bad anymore. We need to have some good people there who know what is at stake, and people like Sonia Shaw. So go check her out. Make sure you're following her. I want to thank you all for being with us today on America's Mom. Remember, all that is necessary for evil to prevail is for good men and women to do absolutely nothing. We'll see you back here on